Many of us are defined by things that other people have told us in the past. I recently found some of my old report cards and I was really shocked to discover that I wasn't that amazing A-grade student that was in my head. In fact, one of my final reports when I was in my last year of school was just terrible. It was all C's and the teacher's remarks were just scathing. Now, when I think back, I actually know that I was so focused on singing and acting and doing that kind of stuff that I'd just given up on studying. I was in the top class, but I was not fulfilling my potential at all. But even so, it was such a shock to find the words that were written about me. One of the actual things that I read has been now imprinted on my brain, and I'm thinking, how much of that did I go through my life for the last 30 or 40 years unconsciously believing because a teacher wrote one sentence. You know what they said? Patricia has flashes of understanding but very little depth. I'll say that again. Patricia has flashes of understanding but very little depth. I mean, you couldn't get away with writing that kind of stuff now, right? However, when I went to school, the teachers could pretty much say whatever they want. It wasn't very PC. And I'm not necessarily blaming the teacher, but when you think about that, written off by one sentence, and that was math, or maths as we say where I'm from, and I was terrible at it. I didn't grasp it, so I just sat at the back and hid. And as far as I remember, I used to read the New Musical Express because it came out on Thursdays and I was more interested in music than anything else. So yes, I was responsible for that, but there wasn't a lot of encouragement. And now when I look at those things that were written about me, I was written off. Now, I didn't go to college when I left school. Later I went and I got a degree when I was in my late 20s, and I've continued, and I love education, and I've studied, and I've done well. Of course, it just definitely solidifies your thinking when you're paying for your own education. You start getting A's and B's, and that's what I did when I went to college as an adult. But you think about that. What is it that you are believing that somebody has told you? Because it's not true. You are not a line written on a report card. You are not something that you overheard somebody saying about you years ago. You can change that narrative, you can change the story, and you can be whoever you want to be. And I realise I've compared myself with other people for years because of my background and because of things that were written down about me on a piece of paper all those years ago. So think about that. You are not your report card. You are not what somebody told you you were, or something that you overheard. So let's do a little bit of tapping on that, okay? Even though I didn't do well at school or college, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though people told me I wasn't good enough, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I've been believing the things that people told me about how I'm not good enough, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Now that's the setup statement. It can be whatever makes sense to your story. So it could be, even though I'm not smart enough, even though I'm not clever enough, even though I didn't do well in school. It could be about anything, even though I'm not a good enough driver, even though I'm not fit enough or strong enough, whatever it is that you've been telling yourself because somebody else told you. Even though I've always believed I'm not good enough, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Put the truth out there. That thing that you say to yourself in the mirror, that thing that you tell yourself that you know is not true, but you've been believing it for so many years, because we need to break that down. So that's the setup statement, and then we're going to do the reminder statement. Now, whatever the reminder statement is going to be something that reminds you of where you're at, of what the problem is. So mine might be, that report, bad report card. I was such a failure. I could have done so much better. I was such a dummy in school. How could I have been so bad at my classes? I was such a failure at school. I didn't do well at school. I wasted my school years. That teacher basically said I was a dummy. I'm not as clever as everybody else. I was given the opportunities and I blew it. C's. Oh, terrible report. No wonder I took so long to do well in education when I did so badly in school. So lay out the problem, be honest with yourself, and then let's just fast forward, because you're going to tap. I want you to tap around that and keep saying it and keep getting it out until the feeling begins to lift. And remember, when you start this, it's always useful to have a 1 to 10 where you are on the problem. So when I read that report, suddenly I was kind of, oh my goodness, what the heck happened? I don't remember being that not so bright in school. I know I was bright, but I messed around. I didn't do my work. But then I'm going to forgive myself for it, because I actually went back and I got my degree and I did okay. So let's move the story along. I know I could have done better, but I can't change the past. I don't want to change the past. I did what I did, and that was then. But it doesn't define who I am. I've moved on from them. I'm not that child. I've worked hard. I've proved I can study. I've proved I can achieve. I've gone on to do better. I'm doing fine. I'm not that person. I am not defined by a report card. I am not defined by what a teacher said. I am not defined by my past. I am not my past. We can change, and I've changed. I choose to change, and I accept myself. I accept my past, but I don't live there. I am smart. I can study. I'm not the 15-year-old. I do have depth. I do have understanding. I am smart. I am not my past. I am my present. I have a future. And I feel good about myself. And I am not defined by what one person said or what many say. I can change my own story. I will change my own story. I have changed my own story. I choose my story. So switch it around to whatever fits your narrative. But remember, your narrative is yours, not the person who's been telling you things or that you've been absorbing, not the words of other people. If you get stuck and you're not sure how to do this, message, post something in the comments. I do respond. And remember, whatever anybody else has told you, you're amazing. You can do amazing things. You're doing amazing things. You are your own success. You are your own future. You are not defined by somebody else's words and by somebody else's story. You can change your story at any point. You can change it right now.